Parents in Parkland, Florida, want to eradicate the rifle.
And with the recent shooting in Florida, a lot of people are bringing up gun control laws and the usual debate. Joining us to talk about that and other aspects of this is our law enforcement expert, Howard Jordan, former police chief of Oakland. I can't imagine a tougher call coming over the radio than the words active shooter in school.
Yeah.
How do you handle it?
Well, it's a very fluid, very difficult situation, very stressful. As you recall, back in April of 2012, we had an active shooter here in Oakland. Mr. Juan Go shot and killed about 7 people. We were all on duty at the time. It happened in the daytime. We relied heavily on our first responders, the officers at the scene, to control the scene, form a team, and take immediate action by going in and neutralizing the threat.
Okay, that is the new rule. We don't surround and figure out what's going on. As soon as you have a team assembled with enough to go after the shooter, they're to go in.
Yes.
Now, that shooter, in the case in Florida and other cases, could actually be a student or somebody at a student age. They could look just like everybody else in the school. They could look like the staff. You go in, and they could be armed with something like this. To go in full... a school full of kids and look for somebody that's shooting and get shooting at. How do you keep accidents from happening? Well, crossfire.
Yeah, it's a very difficult situation. It's very, the officers are trained to assess as they go along. So they're looking for warning signs, people carrying backpacks, maybe someone reacting differently than other students, looking to as the information comes into the police department, the dispatchers are feeding them the information about the description of the suspect, where they went, what they're doing. Did they leave? How many guns they have? All those things. So the officers have to be very, very aware and be able to evaluate as they're going.
It's a wonder that it's not worse, because if you got into a shootout with the suspect, and kids could be caught in the crossfire.
Yes, that is always a potential. That's very rare.
So the question then comes: prevention. Now, question: California schools, are they doing enough?
California schools actually do a really good job of training, practicing, and getting the message across, but there's always room for improvement.
Do they do it consistently?
They don't. And sadly, when we see these things happen, the big national story, that's when a lot of administrators take this seriously. They plan training, but it needs to be consistent. It needs to be something that is interwoven throughout their curriculum every year, a couple of times a year, so that when it does happen, this is a very stressful situation, so they're at least muscle memory kicks in and they do the things that they've been trained to do.
What about putting gates or fences around the schools? I mean, making it more difficult for people to get in.
Yeah, that is definitely an option, but with that comes, staffing. So in addition to looking at putting up gates, you need to increase the campus security forces, and also implement cameras, so you can have someone actually watching the cameras and watching for people that may try to enter the school that may not belong
But that
there.
goes against a lot of what we hold near and dear in California. The idea of armed guards at schools, people are going to reject that. The idea of the cameras always watching you, we don't like that.
Well, there's a lot of things we don't like. Prior to 9/11, we didn't like getting searched at the airport, and we didn't like going through those processes to maintain our security. But we live in a different age now, Phil. We live in an age where these things are happening more rapidly, and they're getting more deadlier, and not only in schools but in workplaces. So you have to look at the entire situation and how can the American people feel safe in where they're going. And it may require them to give up a little bit of their freedom as well.
Do you think there is such a thing as a viable assault weapon ban? Can you write one, or can manufacturers just keep getting around it?
Well, as you saw back in the early 90s, when California tried to pass a assault weapons ban, it lasted for 10 years. It was self-repealing. And then the manufacturers circumvented it by adding things or taking away things from some of the description of the weapons, and that resulted in sort of a watered-down version of the assault weapon ban. I don't know if there's actually a particular ban that could stop people from purchasing weapons that they're entitled to. I think there's other things that can be done to help combat some of the access to assault weapons.
Well, we'll have to see. Unfortunately, I think we're going to be doing the story again if the past is any indication.
Yeah, sadly it is, yes.
All right, Howard Jordan, former Oakland police chief and KPIX 5 police advisor. Now, we're going to turn something a little brighter